Hello, my name is Olivia Verroi. I'm from Alamance Christian School in Graham, North Carolina. Today I will be competing in the Senior High Dramatic Interpretation category. I will be performing The Tomb of Raven MacLeod by Archibald Rutledge. The Tomb of Raven MacLeod by Archibald Rutledge. When you pass out of the peach and tobacco country of North Carolina and come to the moss-hung live oaks, the towering yellow pines, and the dreamy waters of the coastal country between Wilmington and Charleston, you will come to St. James Santee Parish Church, quaint and beautiful, built in 1760 of English brick and native black cypress. The spell of beauty and of ancient peace is upon the place. Although you may not know it, you are miles from any human habitation, save only the little shack where old Isaac McCoy lived. Isaac worked among the tombs of the churchyard. The church slept, and those in the churchyard slept. Rice planters of the Santee country, revolutionary patriots, men who had been hard riders. Any visitor to that church is sure to be attracted by one of the moldering tombs. Oh, a huge affair it is, of English brick shaped like a vast hogshead and half buried on its side in the ground. A careful observer will notice a hole in its side flush with the ground, an aperture large enough to admit the body of a small man. And if he reads the inscription on the marble slab that covers the top of the grave, he will discover that within this vault lie the mortal remains of one Raven MacLeod. For reasons he kept to himself, old Isaac would never let a visitor to the church go near the MacLeod tomb. Old Isaac alone knew that a thing lived in the dark and haunted depths of the tomb of Raven MacLeod, a thing incredibly beautiful, graceful, terrible and deadly. One day a visitor out of the busy world was struck by the dreaming quietude of the church. I guess nothing ever happens here, does it? No, sir. Nothing don't ever happen here. Isaac paid little attention to the visitor, for at the moment he had on him the problem of Dandy Davis, probably the worst man that Santee country had ever known. Dandy Davis, that yellow weasel of a man, had, many months before, drifted into the Santee country out of the region near Florence. He had killed a man in a brawl over a crap game and would try to steal anything he wanted. Isaac mistrusted him, and he knew that this flamboyant visitor was corrupting the manner and morals of the people of his own Johnson Hill Church. In the Johnson Hill Church, Isaac was accounted the most important and trusted member, for he had been for many years the treasurer of the Skyrocket Resurrection Burial Society, the greatest organization in the church. In all other burial societies in the Santee country, the treasurer kept the cash box and some other member of the organization kept the key. But Isaac was allowed to keep both. He had never had any apprehensions concerning the money entrusted to his care, until Dandy Davis came into the Santee country. Of him alone, Isaac had a haunting premonition of fear. It was not only in a general moral way that Isaac disliked Dandy Davis. He had a premonition that this suave mulatto might have designs on the moneys of the Skyrocket Society. Moneys entrusted to him. Next Sunday, the quarterly payments were made, and Isaac would have more responsibility than ever, and all the while, the conviction was growing on him that Dandy was taking a sinister interest in his cash box. How to meet this crisis, he did not know. Isaac finally came to two decisions. He would cut for himself and would travel with a much larger hickory stick than had been his wont, and he would no longer keep the money in his house. He believed that somewhere in the churchyard would be a far safer place to hide it until Dandy left the country. After the service, which nearly every member of the Johnson Hill community attended, the payoff was made in a dingy little back room. Once, Isaac saw the leering face of Dandy Davis at the open window. It must have been 11 o'clock, with the full moon riding almost overhead when Isaac reached the church. Isaac was not afraid of the church or of the churchyard, not even of the tomb of Raven McLeod. All he was afraid of was Dandy Davis, and he now felt in his old bones that Dandy was near. He was. Indeed, there he stood by the road just beyond the church. There was no mistaking the slim and cocky figure. In the moonlight, the barrel of a short pistol gleamed dully. "Oh, man, don't make me no trouble now. I gotta have that box what you got. Give me that box. You can go on home." Isaac was too busy thinking to answer him. Through his mind rushed the series of places in the churchyard where he had considered hiding his trust funds. If he made a run for the enclosure, he might hide the box before Dandy laid his yellow hands on it. With a speed surprising for his age, Isaac dashed across the road, jammed open the gate, and ran in among the tombs. But Dandy Davis was hot after him. Isaac ran around the McLeod tomb. Black in the moonlight yawned the singular opening at its base. Should he throw the box in there? He had swung it in his right hand to do so. There was no mistaking the purpose of his movement. But in that second, the butt of the pistol crashed on the back of his head and he sprawled forward. He fell beyond the opening. And under him lay the treasury of the Skyrocket Resurrection Burial Society. But Dandy Davis thought he had thrown the box into the tomb of Raven McLeod. And being a man with no respect for anybody, he did not even respect the dead. On all fours, he backed toward the opening. Being slight of build, he forced his body in. But the tomb was deep, and he was short of stature. He let himself down to arm's length and still found no footing. At last he dropped into the noisome depths. If Isaac had seen what Dandy Davis was doing, much as he hated him, he would have warned him. But he had been hit hard, and by the time he regained his senses, whatever commotion there had been was over. All was still. Isaac called out, but there was no answer, and he well knew there would never be one. Slowly, the old man rose to his feet, clutching with joy the treasury of his congregation, and with prayers of thanksgiving on his lips and in his heart, he passed unmolested toward his home. An hour later, Isaac began to think again of the thing, and he thought he could see as clearly as if he were still there what was happening in the silent moonlight by the ancient tomb. Out of it came the great king. As became such majesty, he advanced slowly. A savage yet graceful strength made all his movements rhythmic and flowing. Once clear of the den, he lay at full length, wary and still, as old Isaac had so often seen him. This great diamond-backed rattlesnake, more than 8 feet long and as large around as a strong man's thigh. A few days later, Isaac met at the old church the same man who had asked him if anything ever happened there. "Nothing happened here yet, old man?" "No, sir. Nothing yet." But in Isaac's eyes, there was an inscrutable look.